call on stage a trainer, a coach, a national champion of 2021 Toastmaster Noman Abid to deliver education session, building an idea, wrap a beautiful gift for your audience. Toastmaster Noman Abid.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I still remember I was sitting among the audience in a training session, and the trainer was standing here, seemingly an old guy, but very youthful, full of energy. He was dancing here and there throughout the training sessions, but during that session, he communicated an idea, a very common idea, that had changed my perspective and paradigm about life. The idea was that every individual act has such a huge impact in the world. Me and you, whatever we do, that has a very humongous impact in the world in general. He related that concept with wastage of food. He related that concept with throwing wrappers on the street and creating pollution. He related that idea with wasting water when we are taking bath or washing our hands or face. Such a simple idea, but he communicated it in a way that I thought to myself that probably my whole life was a lie, and I've never realized while doing all those things that it had such a huge impact. And believe me, I was not the only one. All the other participants in the hall, they had been impacted by the trainer, and I could witness that in the lunch break, that none of any participant wasted any food during the whole lunch break. And I was keenly observing everybody that probably the session was the reason that people's behavior had instantly changed. And believe me, after so many years, if I see anybody throwing wrapper, my car is a dustbin after that session, by the way. But whenever I see somebody throwing a wrapper, instantly it brings me back to that session where I have been introduced with this phenomena that our individual acts matter a lot. That was the day when I realized that idea has such a power. And when I started my career as a trainer, as a public speaker, I remember the first time one person came to me and said that, Noman, thank you very much for a wonderful speech. It has changed my life. And I thought to myself that, a person like me with just words and an idea and a message has such a power that it can change somebody's life. Idea has such a power. And a great speaker is the one that has an idea and a message, and he's a transporter. He transports that complex idea which he has in his or her mind into the minds of people. If you don't have an idea and you come on the stage and you start talking, it is awful. Style without substance is awful. It's miserable. It's just throwing words, wasting your time and the time of people. A great speaker is the one who has an idea. Idea is always of a certain shape in our mind. For example, that was such a simple idea, right? कि हमारे एक करने से एक बड़ा impact होता है. But for that trainer, he had a different image of that idea, a very complex image of that idea in his mind. But his job was to transport it and create the same image in the minds of people. A speaker is like a painter, and the canvas is audience's mind. He draws that, he paints that idea onto the canvas of minds of people. Exactly the same which he or she has in his or her mind. With the brush of delivery and the colors of words, he paints that picture, paints that idea into the minds of people. Now the question comes into a lot of Toastmasters' mind that where does ideas come from? Noman, where do you bring all those ideas in your speeches? The time when I used to deliver a lot of speeches. People used to say, and this is such a common question, where do I find an idea? Now where is the secret factory where ideas are manufactured? Let me tell you, and I'll break this secret to all of you. Ideas, you see, before coming to the answer of this question, we all have different experiences, right? I have a certain experience. I've lived my life in a certain way. You have a different experience. You, sir, have a different experience. We all have different experiences that are subjective to us. That is unique to us. Right? We all have experiences that is unique to us. And there is another tendency in humans that we want to experience beyond our experiences. Now try to understand, this is very mind-boggling kind of a concept. We humans can only have one experience throughout our life. Our life or time is very limited. But we aspire to live our lives beyond this experience. For example, if I'm a chartered accountant, I have an aspiration to experience how it feels like to be a farmer on the fields. I have an aspiration to feel or to at least get a sense of how it feels like to be an astronaut, how it feels like to be a dancer or to be an actor or to be a cricketer. We all have that aspirations. Whenever we see a Freedy, we all aspire that what if I was a cricketer? Whenever we see a celebrity, we have an aspiration in our subconscious that is very human, very natural, that what if I was a celebrity? Now, how do we experience or how do we satisfy this urge is by listening to the experiences of others. When a farmer tells me his story, I can experience his life or his experience by his words. You can see what is behind me, I can see what is behind you. You cannot see what is behind you, but you can still see if I tend to explain in words what is behind you. Now you can see through my eyes what is behind you. Does that make sense or not? So an idea, so I have my experiences. Where does the idea come from? Idea comes from the experiences. You have 60 years of experience, 40 years of bloody experience, 30 years of experience, and you have so many ideas. So many ideas. You just have to sit, relax, and reflect on your life. And see that what are the experiences that were meaningful in my life and what were the messages that I learned through those experiences. Draw a message out of an experience and then come onto the stage and bring it in front of people and transport that idea to the people's mind. That message should be very crisp, very simple, and very short. You can only communicate one message in a whole day. Probably you will disagree with me. But that's my belief. After doing extensive trainings of whole day, I believe that you can only communicate, and that is a huge success, by the way, if you are able to communicate only single idea throughout the whole day. Instead of bringing so much messages and so many ideas and wrap up in a box, create a mess and then present to the audience. No. Only one idea and then revolve everything around that idea. Whenever you are thinking of putting different content, ask yourself, does it resonate with the core message, the core idea I want to communicate? Or is it just a distraction? Or is it just a fancy information that I just want to put in and it has nothing to do with the speech and the message? So everything, every question that you ask, every example that you put, every story that you bring in, every research that you want to add should be related to that message which you want to communicate. One message, simple and crisp. Now I'll explain. There are a lot of tools that we use in order to transport. I said a public speaker is a transporter. There are a lot of tools that we use in order to transport that message into the minds of people, to picturize. But there are two main things which I'll be talking in this session. Number one is language. Now language plays a huge part. For example, if I ask you to think of a rectolagus caniculus, what comes to your mind? Nothing? Difficult? Alright. So think of a rabbit. Does something come to your mind? Yeah. Now this is basically a scientific name of a rabbit and I wrote it down because I couldn't remember it. Now let's do another game. Think of a red rabbit. Red colored rabbit. Now let's imagine that red colored rabbit have little fairy wings. Now imagine that little red rabbit with fairy wings is flying in the sky. Can you imagine that? Yes. Or not? How many of you can imagine that? Almost every one of you. Few of you are difficult. Now what happened? Something strange happened. You imagined something that does not exist in the real world. Or let me put it the other way around, that I made you imagine something that does not exist in the real world. And let's reflect how I did that. You knew what red colors look like. You knew what rabbit looked like. You knew what wings look like. So what I did was, through the language that you already knew, I built upon it and then made something and created a picture in your mind. A speaker always uses language that is known by the audience and never ever use any language that does not create any picture in people's minds. So language basically is the vehicle to transport the message. Language is the vehicle to transport the message. So language should be very well known by the audience. For that, you should be very well aware of your audience's qualification, what is the background. For example, if you go to the audience that only speaks Urdu, going there and talking in English would be a crime, because everything is going in brain. Instead, because I said that the purpose is to communicate a message. A piece of you is becoming part of their lives. That training session, he just communicated a piece of information and it became part of my life. So whatever message, it is a piece from your past, the experiences and the message you drawn from that experience. Now it is becoming part of their lives. The lives of the audience. So language is very important. Is anyone timing me or not? Yes. You are. All right. So language, ladies and gentlemen, is very important. So the second thing is words. Now there is a study, and I hope all of you are aware of that study, that 55% is body language, 7% is only content. Now we have been abusing this research as coaches, as trainers, in Toastmasters too. I have been doing this crime, being a coach as well. But after some time, I have realized that even when I went into the research itself, I said, ki kisne hai bhai ye research, aur iske piche kya, kahan se facts uthaye gaye aur kaise research hui. To mujhe pata laga ke the researcher himself has very boldly stated in his website, I forgot the name of the researcher, that please don't misuse these stats. And I've been seeing people misusing these stats, because this study was that in order to communicate your emotions, for that 50% your body language matters and 7% content. But over the passage of time, while doing a lot of research and interacting with a lot of individuals, I came to realize that words are so powerful. Words have so much power that you can't imagine. There is a phenomena called fMRI, which stands for functional magnetic resonance imaging. So what happens is, in the biological term, what happens in this phenomena, that they put some wires on your brain. Whenever there is some word or any experience, your brain has a certain activity. All right. So through this fMRI, they measure that activity. So scientists, they done a research with 20 people. So they made them sit in a room and they started a documentary, a video documentary, and they did fMRI with those 20 participants. The strange results that came after that fMRI was that there was a similar pattern of mental activity among everybody. But the surprise does not come yet, because those 20 people then shared whatever they learned from that documentary in audio to other 50 participants. Are you with me or not? All right. So those 20 people made a phone call, let's suppose, to other 50 people and tried to explain what was there in the documentary. And with those 50 people, they did MRI too. And the strange thing was, the results were same with this sample and that sample. So the conclusion is that whatever mental activity that happened with the video and the audio was exactly same through words. So you can create the picture only by using words. Right words. And words have been doing phenomenal job over the course of history. You know the French Revolution, the French Queen, somebody came to her and said that our people are dying, they are starving, they don't have bread. And the French queen said, let them eat cake. Let them have cake or let them eat cake. That one sentence was enough to bring revolution. Only one sentence. Words have so much power. And a lot of other examples. Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he said that no one can undo Pakistan. That one statement is enough for us to have such a blind belief in our country that, no one can undo us because Qaid has said that. Or another two words, very common by our ex-Prime Minister, absolutely not. Now, I don't go into the sides part, but that those words had such a huge impact that it became a buzzword among everybody because words have power. So choose the right words that are valuable or that are the right words in order to communicate whatever you want to communicate. At the end, I would like to say that ideas are powerful, very powerful. And you have so many ideas, and don't take those ideas into your graves. You have experiences and you have ideas, you have messages that you have learned through those experiences, and they are unique to you, and the world needs to know that. Everything around you is the birth of an idea. This whole room, these chairs, these projectors and this mic, this podium, everything before coming in existence was an idea in somebody's mind. So ideas have this power. This country where you're living was birth of an idea. This organization that has brought all of us together was an idea in somebody's mind who was sitting in the US. And now that idea had managed to bring us all together in Pakistan, so far from the US. Imagine how powerful ideas are. Thank you very much.